Down a little bit, both sides, look at it. How are you?
Okay, what do you want to now?
Okay, then I call this meeting to order. 4:17. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hello, hello, hello. On this September 11th, Kingston Arts Commission. Did everyone have a chance to review the minutes? And if so, can I get a motion for approval of the minutes of August 14th? Come on. Okay, second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Not in favor, nay, nays, okay.
Lisa?
Yes.
Lester is just joining by Zoom. Lester, can you please speak so we can see if we can hear you?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Lester.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. So moving through this agenda here, we have Midtown Thriving, Pattern for Progress. Kate Stryker and Elka Godfrey are here to share their draft recommendations and invitation to give input to the process. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing and
Can you please start with introductions? They don't know everybody.
Well, I am Lisa Kelly. I'm the chair of the Arts Commission and also the executive director of the Midtown Kingston Arts District. I'm also on the Public Advisory Committee for Midtown Thriving.
Hi, I'm Dina Suggs, and I live in Kingston, of course, and I'm Chief Diversity Officer with the county, Lieutenant's office. I'm Sophie Landis. I live in Kingston, 3 blocks away from City Hall, and I'm the curator and exhibition manager of the Dorsey Museum.
I'm DJ Brumfield, recording secretary of the commission, Kingston resident, New York City worker.
I'm Kit Potter, Director of Arts and Cultural Affairs for the City of Kingston, and I'd like to welcome Bartek Starda. Thank you. Who is our housing initiatives coordinator, and guest Maggie Inch from Drive.
Richard?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Richard Thomas. I'm on commission, and I'm the administrator of the Benjamin Woodbury estate.
Hi, I'm Ward Vince. What am I saying now? Retired. I'm an arts administrator and foundation executive director, retired.
Great. Thanks, Lisa. I'll start. I'm Elka Godfrey. I'm the director of the Center for Housing Solutions with Hudson Valley Pattern for Progress and a co-author of the recommendations that we are. I'm Kate Stryker, the director of visual community planning with Hudson Valley Pattern for Progress, and also co-author of these recommendations. We've been working with Bartek City on this plan. I'll just provide a little bit of information for context on what the plan is.
Okay, we just have 2 more intros. Oh, sorry. For those attending online, could you please introduce yourselves?
Yes, I'm Lester Berg, a member of the commission and chair of its public art committee. I'm a retired public art administrator.
And I am Sarah Pasty. I am an advisor to the Arts Commission and also a member of the Kingston Common Council. And I heard your excellent presentation at one of the committee meetings. So thank you and Bartek for the work that you're doing. I look forward to hearing the comments from this group.
And I'd just like to ask everybody at the table, for the sake of the online YouTube channel that is recording right now, when you're back in the back of the room, it's very difficult for the camera to pick up your voices. So if you could just project a little louder, that'd be great.
Okay. Okay. So Yeah, as I mentioned, we're here representing a project for Midtown Kingston called Midtown Thriving. Before I tell you about that, just a little bit about our organization, Hudson Valley Pattern for Progress. We're a regional planning, policy, and research organization. We're actually celebrating our 60th anniversary this year. And we've worked with the city of Kingston for a long time, often as a consultant. And for this project, we are the consultant working with the city. So the city brought us on to complete this project. This is a study that's funded through the state. It's known as a Brownfield Opportunity Area Plan. And it's basically a plan to look at areas where there's a concentration of brownfields and vacant underutilized sites. Brownfields are land that are suspected or known to be contaminated due to past use. So former factory, gas stations, dry cleaners. Midtown Kingston does have a concentration of these sites. And so we've been working in the city for over 2 years with a very extensive community engagement process, talking to community members. We did a large survey. We've been all over the place. We've worked with the Boys and Girls Club to do events, Place Corps, Broadway Bubble. We've had numerous public meetings in the city. We worked with Tilda's Kitchen, just to name some of the partners. Honestly, we worked with MAD and others to really understand what's going on in Kingston. And so that's sort of the groundwork we did in developing recommendations. Now, the plan will be submitted to the state to designate the neighborhood as a brownfield opportunity area, which opens up the neighborhood to receive certain benefits from the state, including on the brownfields themselves tax credits to help clean up. Those tax credits can be used to offset the costs of cleaning up those sites to redevelop them. But the plan is also going to serve as a master plan for the neighborhood. And so as part of the master plan, we put together a list of recommendations based on what we heard with the community. And I'll say that those recommendations were actually developed with the community. We had a 2-day workshop session in May, one at the beginning of May and one at the end of May, where we sat down with a group of community representatives. And we looked at all the key findings from all of our community input. We looked at the key findings from our data analysis that this is sort of a 2-year process culminating in these recommendations. And then we, with that group of people, developed a list of recommendations. Then we went out and we shared that list of recommendations with the community. We did a session at Energy Square where we had the recommendations up and we invited community members to come in and give input. We continue to workshop those recommendations with the community as we are here right now. And we also made those recommendations publicly available for input through our website, through our email list. I think we have over 300 people on our email list. I'm not quite sure what the number is, but they were sent out for input and it is still in draft form. So we are actually here today to hear your input on the recommendations that were shared. And does everyone have a copy or need a copy of it? They were shared in email. There is a printed version here if anyone needs it for reference. Okay. So yeah, I think we're here today really just to hear from you guys about your thoughts. Obviously, there was an email chain where we got some input and we did incorporate some of those suggestions into revisions. But again, we want to hear. I'll just make it really clear. We are consultants. We are from outside the community. While we've been working with the community for 2 years and we've gotten to know a lot of people, we don't know everybody and we certainly don't know everything that's happening. So we are not here to tell you what to do. We're here to hear from you. This is feasible. This makes sense, or this doesn't make sense. And we want to take that input to inform how we change or edit these recommendations.
I also think it's worth just sharing that this is one section of, this is, it says, I think it says number 3, right? That's of 12. So there are 12 sections, similar size to this, that relate to different issues. There's a significant section of the plan that relates to housing. There's a significant section of the plan that relates to quality of life, parks, open space, safety along Broadway, for pedestrians and bicyclists. So just know that this is significant. We thought this was a very significant piece of plan that's related specifically to obviously the arts and cultural planning at the city. We're in touch with Kit, and I'm really grateful that they can witness to meet with the whole commission. Really the more the merrier when it comes to brainstorming these kinds of things and understanding how to finesse them in a way that really meets the moment and really meets what the community has brought to us. So I just wanted to share that there's a much broader scope out there, and if you wanted to see the presentation that Sarah was talking about, it is on the city's YouTube channel, I believe. So that was specifically about housing.
Is the presentation that she's talking about, the one that we have?
Yeah. Oh, no, the one that we presented to the housing committee a couple of weeks ago is on the city's YouTube channel. So if you're interested in that section of the plan, you're welcome to go check it out. But today we're going to be specifically focused on the part of the plan that relates to your role as the arts commission. Is that clear?
And just one other point before we start, because I'm looking at the time and I don't know how strict we are for the agenda, but if there was any follow-up, I'll just make the invitation now that we are happy to set up those.
Absolutely.
What?
I'm just noting the time and
Yeah.
like 15 minutes left.
And we said this also that we prefer to start in person, and if we need to set up a Zoom and continue the conversation, that's also fine.
So there is a possibility of further,
Absolutely.
because there really isn't. I think that there's no time.
Sure.
Would you like to run through the highlights of this report so that the best use of this half an hour that we've allowed you?
I think first I would ask, did everybody review these in advance? I know they were sent around. Did anybody not? Okay. So
Sorry, it looks like, just because I see some of my suggested edits incorporated, so this is the second draft.
this is the second draft.
We were sent only the first draft so far, right?
No, you were.
This was part of the commission packet that were sent out when we sent the minutes in the agenda.
Okay.
So sent up one. So you've theoretically seen both. If you see like, and even this draft, I mean, we're still kind of thinking about, is this right language, is this not right language? These are questions. So I guess if you've all read them, I don't know if we want to spend time going through them because I think that would.
As long as everybody's read them, they just got this on Monday. So
Would anyone like us to spend time reviewing the recommendations before we hear from you?
I reading through it again, there are things that confuse me. At one point it says the city should pursue historic district nomination of relevant areas of Kingston. And then it says to this end, the city should not recommend SHPO review for new development unless required. How do you?
Yeah, so I'll explain. So historic designation has historically been used often with a focus on architecture.
Yeah.
But there is another sort of purpose to using historic designation as it is described in our recommendations. And is the SHPO actually has a separate designation known as criterion C.
Criterion C is the architecture, criterion A is the.
And criterion A is more.
Have to get my head.
Well, criterion A is more focused on events and less focused on the way a community looks and sort of preserving old buildings, and it's more focused on uplifting stories and sort of community identity. However, there are similar benefits to both designations in that property owners are eligible for tax credits on both designations. They're also eligible for certain grants and subsidies for both designations. But by focusing on the events category, Midtown has some amazing buildings, and we don't want to talk very about any of the architecture in Midtown, but the focus would really be on uplifting the story as described in this document.
Historic is not present events.
Yeah, so the way historic designation works at the state is that it has to be an event that or a structure that was built at least 50 years ago. So anything 50 years ago and backwards. So I don't know, where are we now? 1975. Plus, and maybe just to give some context, I think these recommendations came out of a series of conversations with community members, as well as the survey results that showed very different. We disaggregated our survey results based on different demographic groups, age, income, racial identity, ethnic identity, and it was clear through the results that when we asked people at the beginning, what are the top 5 issues to you? The only group that significantly shows the issue of feeling welcome and treated with respect was the group that also self-identified as Black or African American. And when we delved into the sense-making sessions, right, when we got together with smaller groups and tried to unpack it, what we understood was that there is a feeling that a fear of historic erasure, especially the history that is in Kingston, right? Of, you know, it's very, very significant, and a lot of people don't know about it. So that's how this specific section was born. And I guess maybe posing as a couple guiding questions as we dive into this discussion is, you know, we as consultants hear from the community, and then our job is kind of to bring ideas of how to solve the problems that we were shown. And so is this a tool that you all feel is, you know, significant? Does it do its job? Does it align with what you're already doing? Those are the kinds of questions we want to answer.
And maybe just a little more context before we get into that. This sort of designation that we're talking about, where there's sort of more focus on events as opposed to architecture, there are a couple examples of them that we want to just sort of raise. The first is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it's sort of celebrating the African American history and community planning. The Black Wall Street was destroyed in the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. And the benefits for that community after the designation have been receiving grants to support revitalization, $1.6 million to explore rerouting a highway that's dividing the district. And then there's a whole campaign that's come out called the Justice for Greenwood and Greenwood Trust. So that's just sort of an example of how historic designation can be used in sort of an alternative way, and an example of pretty famous that many people are familiar with.
I want to step back 2 steps. Do you have a map of what you consider Midtown to be?
We do have a map I can show you on my screen. We don't have it prepared to present on this.
If we could,
Yep,
it
I
would be
can pull it up.
interesting for me to know what you consider to be
My
Midtown.
associated question is,
about
are you
it.
using the term community? You're using the term community, you're segmenting Kingston at large into a specific geographic range. And you didn't really survey outside of that. For instance, I don't live in
We
Midtown, so
surveyed-
I didn't see it.
So the survey was open to the public, and we did get responses from people who live in Midtown, people who work in Midtown, people who live in Kingston, people who live in Oxford County, and we asked people to signify on their response where they live. And so we could see, you know, different sentiments based on whether you live in Midtown or whether you live outside of Midtown. So that was on the survey. So anybody could have filled it out.
So I have a map here on my screen, which isn't ideal. I couldn't plug in, but
Can you just sort of talk?
yeah, so it starts at the intersection, the roundabout. It goes over, it encompasses
Academy Green.
Academy Green, and then it comes down Pine Street. And then comes over on
Like Red Kill, and then it's the Kingston High School, and goes up right to the end where Broadway kind of starts to turn into the Rondo, goes up Foxhall, and encompasses part of that northern section just north of Broadway, and then comes back and meets that. It's the blue outline of the.
So the right hand, it's the blue outline. And
Yeah,
the green.
yeah, the green one was, it's a long story, but
But Foxhall is the green outline.
Foxhall is along here. So it includes all the parcels along Foxhall on the east.
And how far is that tippy upper left hand on your, the blue? Yeah, where's that?
It goes past Academy Green Park, and it includes just the first sort of strip of commercial businesses beyond the
roundabout.
So you're not including Eastchester or Westchester.
No.
And that doesn't sound.
No.
Sure.
And this is not a universally agreed upon geography for Midtown. This geography.
Dr. West.
We workshopped with our steering committee about 2 years ago. And the decision to extend along Broadway was to include, because there's benefits with then being in this area. You basically get extra points on competitive state grant applications if you're in this area. So we wanted to include Pine Street because we wanted to include the burial ground, in case there was any future benefit with that. And we wanted to extend it along Broadway because there's a strip of commercial businesses there that are kind of like neither here nor there. They don't really identify as being in the roundabout. And so we wanted to include them just to kind of give them more opportunities. Honestly.
So it does include Academy Green.
Yes, it does.
And let's talk about Academy Green. then.
Why don't, I saw some preliminary.
I'm curious what that peninsula is at the bottom, like.
That's the high school.
Oh, I see, yeah, okay, well.
So it's that little strip of like Camelias and Mercadito, it's that like beyond the hospital, is that little tip that you're talking about?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
How high up on Foxhole does it go? Does it go all the way to Albany? Or-
No, it doesn't. Halfway up.
So I think it's really important to, like we've defined the geography of it, but I was struck when you were talking about how the historic designation is something that's 50 years or older. And I actually think that that might be what designates an event or a building or something like that as part of this purview. But I think it would be really exciting if written into these recommendations was a way to not relegate history to the past.
Yeah.
Because especially if we're talking about righting wrongs and correcting false narratives, reinforcing a kind of identity that is always tethered to the past is kind of implicitly making the call that this community is not comprised of thought leaders and part of creating the future of Kingston too. So, there's like all of these words about like history, legacy, heritage over and over and over again. And I feel like there should be an equal amount of words that look forward.
So I think this is where we fall short a little bit, focusing on one recommendation rather than the plan. Because immediately prior to this recommendation is a section on civic engagement and leadership and having a network of credible messengers who work with the city and represent the diverse communities of Midtown and Kingston overall. And in shaping not only, this section, but every other part of the plan, leading with community ownership. Community ownership is a huge aspect of every other recommendation we make. And also
But not just in terms of like designating, who's a stakeholder, but also I can't help but think from a curatorial perspective, right? That it's kind of prescribing stories, always looking backwards. And there's a way for this to be more kind of historiographical rather than historical, right? So it's, and especially, I think Academy, which you're talking about too, is the great example of where that could happen. Like an issue is not just a historical event, but the historiography of it, the way that the urban landscape tells that history and therefore impacts our present.
So I think that's a really, really great point. My question would be as follows. We have this tool called historic designation, and there are various rules, right? And it's a state program. And it's one of the only really powerful historic preservation tools that I know of. And it requires this, historically significant event, which is 50 years. Now, if we were to draft a recommendation, first of all, is this tool relevant? Meaning the tool exists the way it is. Is there a way for us to still use it, even though it kind of memorializes rather than bringing it into the present? Is there a way for us to use it? Should we not use it? Is there a way for us to augment it? So I guess that would be my question.
If this tool is what gets tax credit, then I say we use the tool, right? But to use a tool analogy, like a chisel, just because it's a chisel, that doesn't necessarily determine the shape of the sculpture, right? So you can use the tool, but what you shape is the content of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'm thinking is that in writing the recommendation, the language we would propose for the designation would include mention of the current and sort of mention of how this history translates into the current.
And the groups that currently also reside here. I mean, I'm of course very sensitive to the history of Black community and the feelings about displacement and not feeling welcome. But maybe if you're talking about 75 onwards, there's like a huge Hispanic community. Maybe it could be about the initial group and how their family members came or something that, I mean, I don't see Midtown when I read this. I hear what you're saying in terms of the historic issues and centering, but I don't feel like those folks who've come here more recently, when I read this, I don't feel their presence.
I'm sorry, no, you're easy.
I was going to say something after you.
Okay.
That's all. Really.
You do mention history, an important part of history, though, when you mention urban renewal, what we call urban removal.
Yes.
And how the fact that it affected the situation in Midtown. Yeah, I mean the character of Midtown, and affected to this day. Reverberates, and that was very important. But I did just want to mention, because I don't want to go into it right now, but very important, I think, is that this should be building on things on organizations that exist and accomplishments that are being made. For instance, just one instance is the burning of Kingston, which has been the way it's been done now for the last several years, especially under Kit's direction, has been something that has really confronted false interpretations of history, and it's very important to be building on that. What organizations are here and what has been done?
I would, we have a very short time. I know you asked for an hour because you knew we would need more time. But I have like 30,000 questions that are running in my head right now. Number one, the survey method used. Is there a copy of the survey? The percentage of Black African Americans participating, Kingston-based Black Americans participating in the survey. Revealing or yielding the results that you got. And also, in this section, pursuing strategies to document, contextualize, and honor this history through means that educate, unite. You're actually recommending the removal and replacement of symbols of pro-slavery ideology from public spaces that community members identify as harmful and historically misleading. As part of our public art policy, as I made you aware, we will be addressing these methods and issues, and the Kingston Arts Commission is charged with recommending whether or not art is retained and maintained or deassessed. But is your position here as you present these recommendations? Your recommendations are to remove the symbols of pro-slavery altogether.
I think if you have an established practice in the city that you've committed to engaging with, then that's the city's commitment. I think but
this is your recommendation.
Yeah, as external consultants. So we are
statues or other images of pro-slavery ideology. So is this going into your final recommendations to the city and to the public?
Yeah, I think I'll respond. Yeah, sure. I think we would like to hear from the commission today about a suggestion on that specific question. So we wrote the recommendation and we shared it to hear from you on how you respond to what we wrote. If it is deemed that it's not a good idea to include that recommendation by this group, then I think we would take it out. We are going to defer to the commission on this.
Okay, so my recommendation is that it's removed from this report and this recommendation to the city and the public. Basically, it's loaded. As you know, we're in a very volatile political arena right now, not only locally, but in the nation. And I ask you to give the commission, excuse me?
Huh?
You were saying something?
No,
Just interrupting.
No, I was just asking if I was in a, I didn't say it.
Okay, to give the City of Kingston Public Arts Commission and our new Public Arts Policy Committee the chance to continue addressing these issues and doing our own outreach to the entire community. I think our methods will be different than yours. That's why I'm asking you about your methods, especially in surveying the Black community. But yeah, my concern about that is that this is kind of a stretch for the considering the purpose and the goal of this Midtown Thriving project. That's just me.
I'll latch on to. I see this as a political, social, and economic issue, and I'm not sure the politics got in here. And I'm not so sure that the economics are actually true. When you talk about a community that's centered on ethnic or race group, there are people representing those groups outside of Midtown that may have all different views of what's going on. And also it may not affect them. They may consider it to just be part of American history, which should be addressed, vilified if necessary, or held up for derision or whatever. And when I read this, all I could think of was a group of people, I'm not sure how large they are, made some comments about feeling not welcome, and I'm not so sure that is a feeling across the board in the city of Kingston. And maybe a specific community with other political and economic issues outside of the social issue. And I don't see it addressed to that depth. I always go back to Dr. King, and he was realizing that before he died, how much was actually economic and not so much about color. Or a mixture of the two was being overlooked because people were reacting just to race. So I'm not really jumping here.
Before it's popcorn, okay, before popcorn, can we, I know that this is charged. We all know this is charged.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm noticing the hand shooting up, and I want to make sure that we give space to every comment that's made. I think, for any of us who have read Cast, right, we understand but just for full transparency, I'm Jewish, my grandparents were Holocaust survivors, I have a certain, personal interest in these types of issues. And I think in this particular instance, the comments that we heard about the representation in public space were separate from economics. And the reason why I say that I think that is the case is because the comments were about, I never set foot in Academy Green because I don't want to have to confront those figures. Like those are the types of comments we received. And if it's a public space and there are figures that cause re-traumatization and stress, then our job as consultants is to say, hey, people said this. And if this is a public space and we're investing public money in upkeep and having this in a public space, then if we are assessing a sense of belonging in a community and a sense of, community cohesion, which is part of community planning, then that is where our recommendation came from. I just want to really clarify that. But hold on.
I'm saying, I'm gonna let you finish, but I do need to change some things around the agenda because we're running over, so just keep going.
Okay, totally fine. I just wanted to make
Before
sure
anyone
that.
else makes any other comments.
Thank you.
That's what I
Yeah.
mean.
And again, we can set up another time.
Yes.
I think we just wanted to make sure that we met in person first because when issues are sensitive, it sometimes makes a difference to how the conversations move forward. DJ.
I'm making notes on the secretary.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that we responded to, the comments as they come up, rather than have like a slew that we then forget all of the nuances that were brought up.
And just,
Right.
and just, I
Wait.
want to respond to Kit's.
Hold on. We're over time on this particular agenda item, and I would suggest that he could table the Distinguished Artist Award to give us another 15 minutes, if everyone is okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
okay.
budget on,
No trouble.
no budget.
Okay, yeah, we'll table it for the next meeting.
Well, we can work on email. on
Okay.
that too.
Yes, yes, okay,
Everybody's busy.
go ahead, Kate.
I mean, I guess just as far as, I think there was some questions about our methodology and how we came to this sort of, these recommendations, and I'll just say again, this was over 2 years of hearing from the community. As far as the survey, the results are available. The entire survey results are available on the city website, on the Engage Kingston website. And it does include responses broken down by demographic information. So if there's any questions.
Yeah, the number of respondents.
Yes, yeah, it's all
response.
it's all publicly available. So
Just that's what our historian, because he wasn't able to be here, but because this impacts what he does, our county historian, our city historian, they have, a lot of questions about, how this was derived. And also, I think that the concern that I have is that this implies that nothing has happened. So you are recommending that we diversify our offerings. We have been very diverse in our offerings, especially this commission and my office. And our work with the county clerk's office and historians there, and multiple partners. A lot of people come, but a lot of people do not. So that's why this is loaded. But, the recommendations act like, like the county is working very delicately with the Stockbridge Muncie and the Esopai. So the recommendations that, the city relevant agencies should work, we are already working with, those who are, indigenous to this area. So, it just kind of implies that, you missed speaking to a lot of key stakeholders,
yeah.
in your last 2 years. And I appreciate that because you can't cover everything, but this is a very important commission and the recommendations kind of imply that, we don't even exist. So I appreciate that you're here now,
Yeah,
but I just wish that we could have been brought in from the onset.
yeah.
Sophie, did you have a comment?
Yeah,
I just want, again, I'm really sorry. I just want to because I know every single comment is going to have weight, and I want to just make sure. The one thing I will say is our intention with this is to uplift and augment what's already being done. We do refer to the arts and cultural plan in our policy review section. We learned a lot about this through Taylor in the beginning of our project. And if anything in here, and I'm glad you said that the language doesn't reflect what's already being done. Our intention is never to dismiss what's being done, but only to uplift and augment. And if that very, very plannery, lofty language, and it does often alienate because it can be very dry. And if that has communicated what you've received, I apologize. It was never the intention to dismiss what's being done. It's very clear from the conversations that we've had that a lot is already being done, right? So, and we've identified something that doesn't yet exist, which is a historic district focused on this history that we felt would augment what is being done. If you feel that it does not augment what is being done and does not support you in your work, then we want to know, right? So I just want to be really, really clear that at no point did we intend to dismiss the work that was already obviously being done in Kingston. So just to clarify.
Yeah,
that point.
Can we move on with the comments? I'd like to also make a comment.
yeah, I was just gonna say that I think the recommendation to remove pro-slavery ideology logically coherent, it makes sense within the context of this entire document. And one point I wanted to make is that symbols of pro-slavery ideology are not just, they're multifunctional. And, these symbols, one function of it is a symbol of welcoming or exclusion, belongingness or not belongingness, whatever. But as a historic symbol, it's also symbolizing an event. It's symbolizing fact and in a value judgment, right? And so, to talking about like how, in addition to having some, perhaps not all, community members feel unwelcome, it also undermines education. That I think they're historically inaccurate to monumentalize these figures. And I do think tarnishes the city's reputation for promoting justice and equality. And for all of the political reasons why this is such a heated issue, I think this is why it is important to have a firm stance on where we, the city of Kingston, our opinions of these symbols. I don't think it's like the time to shy away from it because it's loaded and because it's volatile or so forth.
So can I'm gonna ask a question because I feel like I said we would defer to the commission and I do, and what I meant with that statement is we trust you guys are the experts on this because you're all working in this area. And we don't want to undermine efforts that are underway. And Kit has talked about this sort of delicate process, and we don't want to disturb something that's going on. But I also hear you that like a clear statement on this issue feels really important, and I think it feels important to us too, which is why we included it. Certainly, because when you hear that somebody doesn't feel comfortable walking into a city park because of the statues there, it's not a comment you can ignore. Like we felt it was irresponsible of us to ignore that sort of insight. But I'm really going to admit, like as a consultant, I think I'm feeling a bit at a loss, like how to do both. And I want to do both. I don't want to undermine what the city's already doing and processes and great efforts that are underway. And I feel like a statement, is that something that is valued? Coming from us as an outside consultant to report on what we've heard and in a very honest way. I don't know if that's a really difficult question to talk about with this group, but that would be my question as the consultant on this project.
Okay. Ward, did you have
Yeah, one of the things that I missed, granted, I may have gone over it way too quickly, is the importance of the houses of worship in Midtown. And, most people in Kingston don't know that we have a mosque in Midtown. And, these are really important places that for so many communities are such a critical focus. And I don't see them. And I don't see the AME Church. I don't, there are all these different places, and it's as if they were, and I say this maybe going too far, but they were intentionally of a narrative.
What are you gonna say?
Well, I understand where you are like at a loss because this has been a difficult conversation that we've had for years about Academy Green, about public art in general, what to do about the murals, it's like, this is the work that we've set ourselves out to do for years. And I am disturbed, I'll just say, I'm a bit disturbed about some of the mandate that is outlined in this. I agree with Sophie that we should have a line in the sand or at least some specific statement about our approach or how we perceive what this is. And in our public art policy, we'll continue to outline and create that narrative. I'm afraid that this will box us into certain processes and choices that we have to make instead of it being a line. So I feel like that's where it isn't augmenting those very specific sentences that you're saying that you have a problem with. If that were to be removed, I don't know, but what I'm saying is that when it comes to public art, at least I am not an expert. There's other experts in this room. There is a dialogue, a community dialogue within public art. Destroying or removing historic art, I feel, diminishes a public dialogue and a public dialogue. So I think of this more as an opportunity than as a instead of a compromise. There's an opportunity for art to respond to this very statement. And we as a commission, at least I, as the chair, would love to see us have an opportunity to spread our wings in that regard. So whatever, I don't know, maybe we need more time here in a private or a lunch meeting or something to really dig into that, what that means for us. We're, as a commission and as a public art committee, we have not gotten there yet. But we want the opportunity. And those specific sections that Kit mentioned are problematic for us.
Yeah, I also just a latch onto that, and what Kit said, you mentioned de-accessioning, and I think that's bridged too far at this point. We've talked about this casually as a commission. There's so many ways to retain those statues, perhaps not where they're at, which is then an economic thing, but to interpret them and to explain exactly what they are. And to rip out pages of history. A certain president right now is trying to change museums and what they teach, what they say. It needs to stay there, and people need to have vigorous debate about it. And that's what's not happening in Academy right now. And we have an opportunity to actually say, these people are not to be honored for this, this, and this. They can be seen as a developer of the area, or they did certain cultural things, but this is what they did bad. The same argument was creating, the same argument as Robert E. Lee and other Southern generals who were glorified for years, renaming sections of West Point because the wrong names are there. I can understand that, but you still need to talk about who they were and why, and that's an education center.
And maybe just one thing, you're saying that we need to contextualize the sculptures or the troubling art, the pro-slavery, that maybe you don't need to be so prescriptive to say that they need to be removed, that this is something that needs to be dealt with in the community, further community input about the response, but to be so prescriptive for me is what is really uncomfortable.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say, it's brought up a loaded question. Loaded questions or loaded subjects mean that you go in one direction, you further the polarization. You go in the other direction, and perhaps you bring. The hope is to bring people together with a context, with something that becomes an educational opportunity for the community and diffuses that polarization. Because that's the direction we keep going in today. And we need to be able to realize that we're all here together.
And we have a comment from Lester Berg, public art expert on both sides of the United States, been involved in a lot of different projects, but he feels that moving and replacing is too broad and restrictive of a statement to make in this particular piece.
I was just pointing out, I think it's just so very specific to talk about pro-slavery, and when there's been so many other harms committed against other peoples that within this area and against those, and harms that may be committed in the future that we can't predict. And some art that exists may become problematic because of something that happens. And so to be so specific in this language is another way that you're boxing us in. So, and also to say that you're removing, I think.
So
The removal of art. Again, I think that there's room for public dialogue, debating, education.
And it's funny here. I guess I interpret it as removing this symbols, not necessarily removing the art, which I was kind of thinking of as like removing the intent.
But they do talk about the essential, so.
Well, if you want to get into it.
I believe that's not right.
But if you want to get into intent, there was no real rhyme or reason for those to be installed where they are at the time, and they were never commissioned by the city or owned by the city. So it is something that, you know, we adopted, we inherited.
They were cheap.
And then, yeah. It's, we are past our time now.
Can I say one?
Yes.
I mean, so we heard that, I mean, I don't wanna, we're not gonna lump you together, but the sort of, the summary of what I heard was that there is a desire to address this issue in this report. But perhaps the word removal is too strong, and we can modify our language to say something about
We can work on it. I mean, why don't we, try to send notes back and.
that would be
forth.
great. I heard we can
We've got some great writers at this table.
and interpretive and a more honest history. I also heard that should pursue should consider pursuing might be a little bit looser.
Re-examine.
Re-examine, but I mean specifically about the historic district. I mean, the plan is so comprehensive, and again, you know, there are so many different aspects of the recommendations. This is one of them. This is not, you know, the plan is not dedicated to, it's not a historic plan, it's not an arts plan. It's a comprehensive document that brings to light the issues that we heard from Midtown, right? And so and I guess either a lunch or a Zoom to perhaps rewrite the section in a way that reflects everything that was talked about today is,
I keep review, redraft, and then a lunch.
Oh, yeah.
redraft and then lunch and review the revisions.
I mean, because I think that it's much easier to respond to something that's there.
Yeah.
Instead of 10 minutes.
So what is the next step is we make some revisions based on this conversation and then send it out to the group again. Do a sort of similar, just put your comments in. And then we can make another round of revisions. And then if, you know, again, if it's sort of like we still feel like unheard, or we feel like this doesn't capture anyone's feelings or sentiment about this, that we could work.
That sounds like a good plan.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to get with us and like reaching out to get us in the conversation.
Just a timeline for this.
As soon as possible. Yeah, we will try to have revisions, not tomorrow, but sometime next week.
Yes.
And
When is your deadline for this? This is wrapping up at this point, right?
yeah, so I mean, we are actually in the process of reviewing the document in its completion right now. The state is reviewing a copy, but with the caveat that the recommendations are still sort of being workshopped, but the rest of the document is 50 pages. So the recommendations are 20 pages of that. So this is probably the one recommendation that we really have not done right yet, and we're still taking input on others as well. But and then once the document is completed, it will be put out to the public for review. So we haven't decided on the exact timeline, but we're going to have it formatted. We're working with a graphic designer. The goal is to have it up on the city website. Hopefully by the beginning of December. It should be on the website for about a month. Maybe before that if we can. Timelines are sort of moving a little bit based on several factors, but it will be available for the public to review for at least a couple weeks. Then we're going to make another round of revisions based on that. And we will be doing a formal meeting where we're sort of presenting it to the public before it goes up on the website to review. So it's not done until it's done. We don't want to create a master plan that's going to create loss in the community. We really are committed to that goal. So
I have a quick question. Have either of you seen the film, The Lost Grounds? Steve, I brought a copy in case you have.
So I'm sorry, a real quick question with the methodology. I'm hearing now who we surveyed. So are you saying that 15% of respondents were Black Americans or 15% of the Black population in Kingston were respondents?
of the respondents were.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, it was
15%.
50% of respondents
Supplemental.
were
Yeah.
self-identified
Yeah.
Black.
So half
Black population.
population.
Pardon?
15.
No, but the population in the city of Kingston.
it's 14%, 3,000, I think 3 to 4,000, are, well, we're talking census, so you can't really tell. But, there is probably 35 to 4,000 Black residents in the city of Kingston. And that was my question. Out of those, how many responded to this? This gives me the, percentage of Black American respondents who responded to the survey.
Yeah, 15% of survey respondents.
55% white.
We had 340 respondents, so 15% of.
The Latino,
We had 340 respondents.
Yeah. 17% were Hispanic or Latino, 55% were white. The proportion of respondents who were Hispanic or Latino was much lower than we wanted, and then we did have target. We had target representation, what we call the representation check, where we compared the demographics of respondents to the demographics of Midtown and tried to achieve the same kind of proportional responses. Or at least the same proportional responses, right? Because we all know that usually who responds to surveys. So we do talk a little bit about the, again, it's tricky to talk about the Hispanic community right now because we also don't want to draw attention. And so we're trying to figure out how to do that in a safe way. But I'll say, so we had this representation check goal for the survey where we set a goal based on the demographics of the community. We wanted the same proportions of respondents to mirror the demographic breakdown in the community. We did not reach that goal with the Hispanic population. So we actually worked with an organization in the survey, and we decided that we would not aggregate the results. So you can't look at the results as a sum of the community because we didn't feel like it reflected the community. So you can only see the results of the survey by different subgroups for that purpose, because is that clear why we didn't aggregate it? Because it wasn't reflecting a representation check that we were running. And for every comment that's made, there's demographic identifiers. So, because, and again, this is all in an effort to be transparent, to have representation from underrepresented groups, historically underrepresented groups. So I will be honest, we didn't quite reach that goal. It's very hard to do. But we were transparent in our efforts, and we really did put out a lot of effort to reach that goal. But ultimately, there's a community engagement is it never really hits the target too long.
I think that's what I was asking about your methods, because I hit the ground, getting responses, and it takes me into the weekend, sometimes showing up at events, Juneteenth, African Fest, going to churches, so that I can at least talk.
Yes.
Instead of passing around a piece of paper, can I fill this out, just listening to the voice of the people. It is very difficult, you're right, to get the voice of.
And also the survey
Would not come to these hearings and sessions. Every department's going through that around the world, across the nation. And getting, certain groups to respond to, so that we get the voice of the full voice of the people from all, like Black people from all socioeconomic backgrounds and how they feel. That would be really interesting to check too.
So we did, this is also.
Can we keep, I'm sorry, I
It's okay.
need to move on. Thank you so much. Really appreciate all of it.
The survey labs that engage Kingston?
Yeah,
No, thank you.
thank you very much.
thank you. Yeah, thanks for having us.
And look forward to meeting with them again.
Yes.
On Zoom.
And I'm sorry, it's the Phoenicia Farmers Market, not the Kingston Farmers Market.
Well,
It's-
for me, it's been pretty swag, so.
Please.
The Shindig conference. We spent a little time really. Thank you so much.
Next up, Strategy and Funding Committee. 2026 budget request was presented to the mayor and the comptroller. Congratulations, kids.
Yeah. It was presented, and Mayor told us to ask for, we asked for last year. And it was very quick. When we went first because, you know, we're the less complicated division. As opposed to fire rescue and DPW and water. So, you know, it was a good meeting. I felt, you know, positive something.
Great. And we did not get the T-Mobile. But
Do we know why? Or was there any feedback?
It was minimal feedback, but it's very competitive. You know, I thought was the Instagram was correct. But I know that she will be going back for specifics. We'll try again, but you know, as Richard noted, it's a great proposal and we can use that for to pursue other grant opportunities.
Yeah.
This one,
is there anything else to? Okay, any other comments about strategy and funding? Richard, you're on the committee?
Yeah, no.
No, okay.
That's just fine.
All right, then let's move on to the director's update.
okay, we had the call for bids. We can't publicly announce who they are, but we have 4 applications in. And we did announce that we extended the application deadline to Monday, and we have 2 others that are pending that I've heard. So it looks like we will get a total of 6. I'd like to hear from the commission on, you know, the methods that you prefer as far as the selection process.
I have a question about the process, not the selection process, but the what will be done, what the consultants will do. I was talking to one potential consultant who mentioned that the consultant was going to have to estimate values.
Of course, those questions came to me. This is for inventory only, not appraisal, not assessment.
Okay, so there's no appraisal.
Right.
Okay.
And when those questions came to me, I clarified that.
An appraisal would need an appraiser.
Yeah, that's phase 2, 3. I'm getting some interesting approaches to this and recommendations, and I'm sure you're gonna find it very interesting from very good candidates that have applied. So this
That's terrific.
Yeah,
They look.
pretty exciting.
That's pretty good.
So the selection process, maybe recommend that we get a scoring sheet together like we did for the public art committee. And that we did with Jennifer McGregor. Because I thought that process was pretty smooth, and extend the invitation to the public art committee to be among those people who recommend or give their ratings on each candidate. Can we do that?
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the final recommendation would be from the commission. Is that okay?
Yeah. When do you imagine the timeline?
Next,
Oh,
I'll get this done. Please.
And so far, everyone seems to be okay with the amount that's made available.
We will see when we have you review each. There's some very interesting questions coming through and already recommendations, and these recommendations along with the applications will come out in each application. I'm really impressed.
Great.
So
They're all residents of Kingston.
No.
that was not a requirement,
I know, I'm just asking.
but they know the area. They're local.
Okay.
So how about this? We will, we close for bids at 4:30 on Monday. I will, right away get you all, the rating sheet similar to what we used for the public art consultant. And, from that, how much time do you think we need as a body of very heavy working people? The end of the month? If I get it to you next week? Couple weeks, because
Couple of things.
fine.
couple weeks.
And please remember to put in the RFP.
Will do.
That would be helpful.
I would even suggest 10 days. 2 weeks.
Let's do 2 weeks.
Okay. So by Wednesday, and you can get all of your results in by the 25th. And then we'll be close to timeline. We're stretching the timeline just a little bit, but we're close to timeline. Basically what happens with this, the incumbent that's chosen, this is the question that was asked too, when do you need this done by? We're going into the holidays, we're going into really busy times, they're gonna have to ask a lot of questions while they're doing it. I'm busy as well. I have to walk through with them, they're not walking alone. So I recommended to each, based on the questions that were asked, make your recommendations. I'm giving it March. I'm asking them to, have it finished by March.
That sounds good.
That's pretty.
Well, the whole survey.
The whole inventory. Give us the results,
In time for my birthday.
in time for your birthday.
All right,
Good.
sounds good. Yeah.
You're flying us in Toledo.
So I kind of go for the call for art now. So the call for art is out. We're still on the, right?
Oh, right,
It's
so
on-
next,
Oh,
Ulster County Mural Project.
Ulster County Mural Project, the update on that, thank you all for your comments. I really thank Lisa Berger and Sarah Kramer Harrison, the new Art and Culture, and Open Spaces Director of Ulster County, for coming to me when she first started. We spent 3 hours. During that time, I, let her know the concerns that I was getting from Kingston residents once an announcement was made by the county that a mural was going up somewhere in the county. She then took it back and she heard all of your comments. Once I gave you the report on her inviting me to the meeting that she was going to have with Ulster County Mental Health, and pictures of the site that they're looking at putting a mural up on. And after that, she said that she would be talking to, she'd be taking it up the ladder. And then she came back to me after I sent her the public art policy. And I also sent her the RFP that we had used for the public art, the post office park sculpture. She and Lisa, reviewed all of them, including the policy, and Sarah came back and said we were going to follow the lead of the City of Kingston Arts Commission as opposed to a nonprofit. So that's where we are right now.
Did you take out our obscenities when you?
So that's where we are right now. So she'll be having meetings at the lab and she'll come back to the table with us.
So you're feeling better about it.
That's so great. It's where they're opening the new clinic, so that'll get a lot of just, everybody go in there. That's great. It's great. Okay.
So, yeah, so we'll see. But, some of the comments that, were made by me and the commission included, there are other art forms besides a mural. Medalist sculpture, other. And also bringing back Peter Criswell's recommendation, and I did include your statement, Sophie, about 11 artists. But also, back when Peter Criswell made this statement, he suggested that we need an honor for the mental health workers, the health workers, the first responders who risked their lives during COVID and got us out of that nightmare. So that's one, but a community engagement process that, since they're going to follow our lead, will tell more stories. We'll make more recommendations. I feel better about that because it's now accountable to the taxpayers, not only, the county taxpayers. This is not a City of Kingston. We are doing our best to be accountable to our taxpayers, but this now is, because nonprofits do not have to operate like this, but they were about to fall into the same pit that City New Paltz fell in.
Yeah.
When they dismantled their public art, their SUNY New Paltz Public Art Commission, and no conversations were had within the SUNY community and outside of the community when the Sojourner Truth statute came about. So, my recommendation to Sarah, Lisa, and a bunch were don't fall into that scheme. We are accountable to taxpayers first. And they also are ones who can really, talk about, or tell us about, how they're feeling about public art. And so that's all I have on that. We'll continue and, I also recommended that, an advisory committee around this, comprising, some of my WISE commission members, who are experts in public art, experts in, commissioning art, should be enjoyed. And they like that idea.
Makes sense.
Going on to the exhibition, 26, Call for Art. We received, as you know, the Artsman Hudson project grant.
Congratulations.
I appeared yesterday and, we sat through the check giving of Dutchess County because it starts with a D, and Orange County starts with a O. And then they got to Orange County and all of us recipients. So thankfully we were City of Kingston, so we got up early. And that was my time to pitch all of these amazing people, to let them know that our exhibition is different. Our exhibition is not just individual artists, but we also, promote your exhibition. We promote your galleries. So please, all of you folks that just got this check, please consider submitting. And I told them what was going on. And so far I've heard from Licksat School of Art. They do have something in their holdings that they're going to submit, and others. So, I really anticipate, I'm getting so many good, it's kind of scary because I remember Sue Cahill, when she participated on the selection committee last year, she said, this is too tough. I'm tearing. I don't know which ones to, rate higher. But yeah, I think, this is giving us a notion that we have other buildings. Not just City Hall, but we have other buildings that, really are screaming for art.
Yeah.
So after this exhibition, and we're gonna get it lit. I'm determined. Ruth Ann is one of the best screenwriters I've ever worked with. We're gonna get that lit. We're gonna get the funding, but we also may consider for the next exhibition for the following year that we have other buildings, and we should include some other sites. That have public, like the water department has a lot of traffic and other, so.
Building that used to be the visitor center. They had the Napoli presentation there, and it was
Yeah.
nice in there.
It's ready for art, right? And you get a lot of
Yes.
traffic too. So.
Yeah.
That's that. And then I just want to announce that Art Walk 2025, probably everybody on this table is in one way or another involved, but that is September 20th. And of course, we're coming back again as participants, the commission and the Arts Cultural Affairs Department, bringing live performance art with this time Pablo Shines Orchestra featuring Carlos Valdez, Grammy winner, and Nancy Ostrovsky live performance. And that's where
Where's the venue for that?
it's TR Gallo Park. It's-
Okay.
I'm sorry, public. Go to Artsman Hudson Art Walk 2025. You'll see the entire map and all of the visual arts exhibitions that are going to take place. And it's incredibly impressive.
Yeah. We'll be out in the street with the steamroller. Steamroller for a fest. Yeah. Great. Any comments, questions? I just to remind everyone, I have to leave in 10 minutes at 5:40. And therefore, Ward, I would appreciate you rounding up the final bit. The next item on the agenda is the KAC Community Roundtable, which is new business.
It's old.
Oh, is it?
Actually, it's old because this is in our master plan. And I'm sitting at my desk sometimes looking at all of you and how involved all of you are. And Bard, Dorsey, and actually everybody at this table is answering by your involvement in so many boards and committees and your activities. You're answering the connectivity and collaboration strategy. So what I'm proposing, probably not now because we had a great conversation with Titles for Progress people, but maybe if we could just keep it on the agenda for everybody at the table to just report, from your networks, from the Dorsey Wakefall. There's a lot going on with the Ben Wakefall piece, and now Matt just got a Ben Wakefall in perpetuity grant. I would not have known that had I not been at that meeting. So I'm just hoping that we can spare some time on the agenda to, Richard, you didn't know?
She did. You do.
But you have, you've been taking groups up to a Fenway Fall exhibition, but it never came to the table. The public never heard it from our commission meeting.
Right.
So this is what I'm recommending.
Yeah.
And eventually, hopefully, it can foster and engage arts alliance network of some sort. Because in the master plan, it doesn't say that the Kingston Arts Commission have to be the ones doing this, because it's already being done. And from your report, you serve on, is it the Midtown Arts District? I mean, the Midtown, not the Midtown Arts District, I'm sorry, the Business District.
The Midtown Business Alliance?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, we're members of that.
So if there could be a brief report to the commission on all of these things that you're involved with, I think that would help us satisfy that piece.
It's always missing when we talk about the cultural resources in the city is the state sites. And, years ago, the head of the Senate House came to a commission meeting. But other than that, they're like, no, we don't want you to remember that we're in the city of Kingston. And they have extraordinary collections, amazing real estate, and it's enough already. So I just want us to include them when we talk about the cultural resources in the city.
Aaron Robinson from the Senate House is a member of the Birmingham Kingston team. We're going to be meeting very soon with all the partners to talk about USA 250 and everybody's calendar and what that looks like from January until December, Hudson River Maritime Museum, everybody. And extending out to other arts and culture and history organizations. What I'm trying to go after there is just this. Is that we just bring in all partners. And I'm loving that you mentioned, Aaron, because they have the Vanderland collection, and I believe that that's going to be one of their main exhibits for next year.
Whenever this has come up or any kind of like, we breaking down silos or blah, 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 blah. Like I always have this idea that pulling together like a arts and culture summit to just have some real sit downs. I mean, just like a day. I mean, a summit of like themed roundtables to discuss certain things. It's just like even at the ED meeting that I go to once a month, there's always talk of how we can collaborate and how, it's also a lot of like sharing information and resources. And it's been a great process. Sometimes people are left with, well, what's next? And so we never have like this sort of meeting, like think tank moment of like really digging into it.
Yeah.
And I mean, for this community that has so many arts organizations, so many cultural institutions, so many museums, and not museums so much, but galleries, and centers that.
Well, yeah, and I know I've talked to you, Kit, before about involving Helen Toomer. And
Yes,
having basically Kingston Art Weekend in the same sense that there's an Upstate Art Weekend, because her residency is Kingston adjacent, and now she's set up shop. Her office HQ is in Uptown.
Oh, it is?
You mean
Yeah.
for like a art walk type scenario? Is that what you're talking
I
about?
think we should just invite her to so many conversations, because she is a convener and she's a connector and she is a marketer. And I think she would do a good job helping us map the ecosystem, and having been involved with so many different organizations, the residencies, the studios, the galleries, etc. I think she would have a good sense of what the needs are and how to bring people together. But also, I think just to to promote Kingston as the art center that it is.
Yeah.
I agree. I also am in awe of the great job she did with Upstate Art Weekend this year. Oh my gosh.
Just,
She's a Kingston here.
Amazing roster.
so she's on the very far edge of Kingston.
Well, but not with her office
Yeah.
right here. She's one of us.
Yeah.
So I'll just say that she would be great to bring her on board, but not to spearhead. I mean, if that's what you're asserting, because okay.
No.
But yeah, I think all the people that have been able to organize and bring, you know, what she brings should be part of that. If that's even something that the city is even interested in supporting, because I think.
And should agree to have a panel and have her sit on the panel with many other people.
Yeah, it could go a long way for building bridges between like what's happening with the sort of commodification of art that's happening in the city versus community art and public art that's been happening for the last decade.
And I think upstate art is in this pretty big tent. The participants are everybody.
They have gotten better, yes. Yeah.
Can I just make a quick comment? State of our traveling around, that the Wigfall, that the show that's including Ben Wigfall in Germantown is going to be ending on September 20th. It's only open on Wednesday, on Saturdays, excuse me. But if there's a group.
Where is it?
It's in. Huh?
5 Main Street.
Sky Farm.
No, the Sky High Farm is what's putting it on. Sky High Farm is in Pine Plains. But the building where the exhibit is in Germantown.
Can we tell the public where that is?
Yeah, it's on 11 Main Street. You literally, huh? 11 Main Street. It doesn't matter because where it is, you hit it. It's
Go up and around.
no, you literally go to up 9G to Germantown, and right there at the gas station, at the stoplight and the gas station, you turn left and you'll wind down about a quarter of a mile and you'll see the building.
I think you could also go on their website and click the hyperlink.
Yeah, they have something else though. Yeah, I tried to go on it the other day and I don't know, they're but it's an incredible show of 50 artists that they social, environmentally, industrially, socially interested artists who they brought together for this fundraiser. And then on top of that, and this is and they're all jammed into 5,000 square foot space. 2 floors of a 5,000 square foot space. And Ben Wigfall and his wife Mary are in a space that's somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 square feet. And it's a tribute. It's such an incredible tribute.
You said till the 20th?
It's the 20th, yeah.
Go.
Huh?
So I'm going.
Good. And I just want to say that to make one more pitch. And we just had a great radio program on it. On Radio Kingston, we got next on Radio Kingston last night, and it was with the organizers of it. So it was really great. So thank you for letting me make a pitch.
So, Richard Wisdom would like to visit. They want to come back to the table and they need the input of the Kingston Arts Commission on their ideas for a USA 250 biennial sculpture project. So I kind of recommended, because next meeting we have.
They meaning ask.
We have the visit from the Metro in Kingston by Noble. And that's going to be pretty involved. My 1-2 hour meeting with them wasn't long enough.
Yeah, I think that would take up an entire meeting.
That's going to be huge. And after that, they're going to want us to be involved. So, and a lot of it is about the arts. So I'm just thinking that maybe for Richard, he should write to us and we should just, exchange some good emails with him. Or a lunchtime Zoom. It's just an extremely busy time. I don't want to hold them back. But whatever input they need, whatever questions they have for us, perhaps you can just post it in an email to the commission.
See that.
Let's ask. Both, all,
Public art.
public art and the commission.
So you're saying don't want to take up the time of the entire, of the next meeting to include that since we'll be so involved.
Well, because we haven't,
Can we have, I'm sorry,
so,
I was just going to say, could we have maybe a small group, a committee to talk to him and report back?
well, let's get him to ask us questions.
Fine, okay.
Because I did spend some time with their gallery director and Amy Brooks. And, you know, what I advised back then, this was a few months ago, go back into all of those catalogs, look at that committee. You had a whole page full of people that were in that committee. 3 people did not do this. So go back to that and see how many people can come to the table hands-on and be on your committee, because it's the only way you're gonna get it done. So they had talked since then, that it was the director of DPW, the director of planning, city of Kingston. All these people were on their biennial sculpture committees.
Do they have a 1 page on it?
That's what I'm missing.
Yeah, I mean, because I.
Give us a 1
sense of
pager
what
with some
you're talking
questions that you
about.
might have. Then, you know, we can exchange some emails, and then after that, if we need a lunchtime Zoom to get some think tanky going on, that's probably gonna be a better bet. Okay, but I'm just letting you know what's coming.
Thank you for being our interlocutor.
There's a lot of people that want to come visit you, but, you know, today was important, and, next month is important for, the Metro, a project that Noble and Kingston, it's a long one. But these 2, when I met with Adrian Manuel and Janet Hollingsworth, I was just so impressed by them.
Oh, good.
Oh my goodness, they are gonna bring it. So I can't wait for them to meet you next month, and then.
Now it's Green County?
Yeah, plus the boys are going.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone else want to make a comment, or you can
Just one comment. Are you all aware of the new cinema? Okay, good. I'm sure everybody knew about it.
Upstate Films for the public, Upstate Films has moved into that, it was a very big barber shop. A couple of doors down from UPAC. And they are now Upstate Films in Kingston. It's a 50-seat theater, and we're saying this is an experiment. We're gonna make sure it's permanent. I'm just excited. And they're gonna show the same films that they're showing in Rhinebeck and Soccer.
Really?
It's not their stepchild.
A really good retrospectives coming in too, including somebody needing what they want today. Pedro Almodovar as being shown next month. Can't wait to see it.
Is that next week?
Next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, go to Upstate Films, and then you'll see, a thumb for, Rhinebeck, Saugerties, and then you see this new thumb.
Yeah, no, that's great. Maybe this is becoming a little gossipy and a little off agenda, but does anybody know what's happening with the Rite Aid that just closed on Broadway? Because when I think about Midtown and when I think about that kind of corridor, it seems like all of this wonderful stuff is popping up to connect the uptown and downtown, and now there's gonna be this like huge.
I know there's a museum
To the bus station.
museum that dreams about having that space.
Well, there, people have suggested.
The dinnerware museum, dreaming about that space.
Oh, she is. How is that museum going?
I think it's going well. I mean, she does a very good job, but I don't think she has the, she wants. She has just a collection of, she says 9,000 objects. So.
I want to just interject here that I just passed down, our master plan, the hard copy to Dina, and she probably can't understand my writing.
But I just, the last word is.
In your new position as the Ulster County Director, Chief Diversity Officer, might you be able to help us to establish finally our DEI? Because we have
Our DEI committee, is that what you said?
well, just look at, 'cause, you know, there might be things that you're already gonna be involved with
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah,
in that section. It's
and parallel even to Ulster County. Yeah, but we're doing a lot of work on accessibility and.
Exactly.
Take a look.
So, you know, since we haven't really, you know, cracked that open at all, and since, you know, you have now become our chief diversity officer.
Yes. Yeah, and also I can just easily powwow with Sarah, because a lot of this is
applicable actually to the full 17.
So if you could spare, when your spare time, when you have none, if you could like just look at those priorities.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Strategies.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And see, if as you evolve that division, if you could incorporate any of this and include Kingston.
Yeah.
That would be a groove.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Sounds good.
Does anyone have any further comments? Or do you feel that it's time to adjourn?
Yeah, it's time to retreat.
Adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
Okay. So we are